Hi, welcome to Infusion, the podcast. I'm comedian Chris Patrick, a.k.a. Self-Proclaimed Power Man, and I'm here with my co-host and significant other, Rach.
Hey, guys.
And today we got Joanna Progress, a chiropractor. Now, some of you, it happens to all of us. We get that back injury, and she's going to tell us some of the things you can do and some of the things that help prevent getting back injury. And I can't wait to talk to her because waking up this morning, it's the same old cliche. You slept wrong, and I think I did. So I can't wait to talk to Joanna. So, Joanna, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So you're a chiropractor. So, of course, you work with people's backs and people's, was it lumbar?
Yep, we got the cervical, thoracic, lumbar, spine. But I think the thing that really drew me into chiropractic was actually that you work with the whole body, and it's what gets associated is the back with the whole people. You know, everybody thinks about back pain for chiropractor, but it's a lot more. It's all about making your body work better.
Yeah, because I didn't know that because when you mentioned chiropractor, I said, oh, something's wrong with your back. It's all
right. That's exactly what everybody thinks, right? So that's not uncommon. But I will say, whenever I talk to people about when they come in, one of the first things I always tell them, like the base core of what we do, the whole reason why we do anything that we do is that your body is an amazing self-healing organism. It's a better doctor than any doctor you go to, right? You cut yourself, no doctor regrow cells for you. I mean, I guess they're starting to figure stuff out like that, but really, your body knows how to take care of itself. It's got its own immune innate function that happens. So,
well, that's interesting you say that because that's one of the things. One of the things I always say is listen to your body. You know, because like of course, being in Minnesota, you know, we have the wintertime and people get sick, and some people get sick and they're like, I'm not feeling good. I'm like, stay home, listen to your body. Then they go to work and then they get worse. I'm like, you need to listen to your body. Just take the day off, relax. I know you got a lot of stuff going on. You're trying to do this business. You're trying to do this the way your body's telling you. You take a break and you got to listen to it.
Yep, exactly. I'm so glad you said that's one of my favorite teachers gave us a saying when he said, your body's giving you signals all the time. And you feel it as dis-ease, right? Like you have this discomfort, something's going on, you're sick, you're whatever it is going on, you feel tight, you feel a weird pressure. That's a signal from your body saying something's not going on right? And so if you ignore it long enough, which we're really well trained to do, right? Just ignore it, don't feel it, whatever, right? But if you give it enough time, it turns into the disease process. And that's really when you start getting pain, inflammation, all of that kind of problematic stuff.
But what about some things like, and I know OSHA talks about, you know, especially being in warehouse work, which I have done, but, you know, bending your knees, lifting with your back, and not totally bending over. And my
favorite thing is to tell people to act like Superman or Superwoman or Wonder Woman, whatever, right? When they're out there, because you're right. But I tell them that because it's the most simplistic thing to think about, right? If you are out and you're going to go do something, you're going to act like Superman. You start engaging the core. A lot of times we forget to use our core muscles, and then we bend with our back, and we don't. You know, we're not engaging all of that stuff, and so then you end up twisting and torquing and putting a ton of pressure on these tiny little muscles that all of a sudden you lean over to pick up a pencil and your back goes out, right? It's a build up until that little piece.
Yeah, because I've had that before. Like, you know, I'd be working or something, and I'm talking like simply like mopping a floor. Next thing you know, it's like I can't move. What happened to my back? You know?
Right? It wasn't the mopping of the floor. I mean, the mopping of the floor was the final piece, but it was all the stuff that built up to it. And so that's, as chiropractors, what we do is we look at the spine, and it's really about neurology in many ways too, but like I said, the main core being how your body works, that it has its own innate healing system. So the reason why we look at that is your brain sits in your head, your spinal cord runs down your spine, and nerves come out between every single vertebrae. And so if a vertebrae isn't moving, what happens is it can create some inflammation. It'll create a little bit of irritation in that nerve, and that those nerves are information coming in, gets processed in the brain. It's also information coming out. So you can have sensory information going in or motor information going out. So we get the joint moving so that your body can do what it knows how to do, take care of itself, and correct whatever imbalances are going on.
Well, you know, I suffer from that thing too, because one of the things I do, like, you know, I catch myself when I'm like in a movie theater, you know, if we go to movie theaters, it's been a long time since, but when you go to movie theaters, I catch myself like I'm slouching down and I'm relaxed, and you know, or even when I'm sitting at home watching TV, I like to slouch down, you know, don't sit, I can't sit straight up.
No, well, and so the thing is, like, I don't expect people to live their life totally sitting straight up all the time, right? You live life and you do your thing. But I will say for posture, you tend to think about a whole bunch of different things, shoulders back, hips forward, whatever. The best thing that I have ever heard, and the easiest way, I like simple and easy, right? So the best thing I ever heard was, I actually got it from a Native American book, said lift the breastbone or your sternum, right? And so if you just do that, it makes room for the heart, is what the thing was said. And when you do that, if you just try and lift your breastbone, everything, shoulders go back, hips go forward, you just stand taller and prouder, right? And I just love that it was tied in with the heart, right? Makes more room for the heart.
So for the physical aspects of in work, I almost wonder if people should start stretching before they start working on their core and stuff like that. You know, if you're lifting heavy boxes or even turning people like I do in my medical field, you know, because stretching is such a great way to start using your body and getting it ready.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great warm up. Even if you did a little bit of, I would love it if they had like a 5-minute walk in the morning, stretch, and then go, right? Because that little bit of warm up before you stretch too also helps with the stretching process.
I noticed that too because I know like in like Asian countries, you know, before work, they get everybody together and they stretch before work. And then America is just now starting to implement some of this stuff. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that America likes to do the go, 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 go. Don't pay attention to anything that's going in your body.
Right.
Don't pay attention to anything. Just be productive, right?
And then when it's broken,
yeah. Then we go, what's going on? Everybody's stressed and doesn't know how to function in life under high pressure because we just haven't given the time or resources of how to be able to recoup for ourselves, right? How do we rebalance? How do we recenter?
Well, what do you do with the people that that come in and go, oh, I hurt my back, and they knock on your door, tap, tap, tap. Yeah, I hurt my back. Give me Vicodin. What do you do? I just want Vicodin. I just want Oxy.
Well, they're not tapping on our door for that because legally we can't prescribe medication.
Okay.
What we're trained in when doctors go in, like the schooling is the same intensity as what medical practices are. Like when we were going through, I had to do 4 years of undergrad, and then we had the chiropractic schooling, but it was up to 24 to 30 credits per semester until we got to our end, which is an intensive course if you're going through. But where they focus on medicine and surgeries, we focus on the joints, we focus on x-ray, we focus on how the muscles and everything are attached and how they're working together so that we are really specific when we go in and do an adjustment, right? So you know which direction the joints on the vertebrae are facing, so we're doing it appropriately for everybody to be able to hit their max potential for themselves. Really.
So if somebody knocks on your door and goes, I just want Vicodin, you can't come here.
Like, sorry, you're in the wrong spot. But that's a big one that we talk to. A lot of times what we get on our door is, I've been to the doctor, we've been given all these pain meds, we've been giving muscle relaxers, we've been given this stuff and nothing's working. Maybe you can help, right? Like that tends to be what shows up, right? And that's when you go, yeah, right? Like, let's get your body balanced and see what it can do because it knows how to take care of itself. Once we get you adjusted, then whatever balance, I mean, nerves go to everything, including the organs, right? And so digestive processes can be affected by it. People sleep better, you know. People come in when they have colds, so we adjust with ears. There's stuff you can do for that, but then there's also sinus pressure points, right? So the first time, that's actually what got me into chiropractic was when I used to go for my back pain when I was in high school, right? And then when I was at my chiropractor, one of the other patients came in and said, I have a cold. Can you help me? And I was like, you can help with a cold? What?
Right.
And all of a sudden I went, oh, this is what I want to do. You can look at the whole body. I didn't care about the spine before, but like I'm looking at a whole person.
Right.
And so even though it focuses around the back because that's where the nerves come through, right? That's a lot of the main focus. Like the whole body works together. And I love that idea of just looking holistically at a person.
So talking about the spine, can we go like section by section by section and kind of like explain to people why it's not just the back?
Yeah. So the back is like if you think of it, we're looking at the electrical system, right? The brain and the spinal cord. The electrical system goes throughout the whole house, right?
Right.
But if there's something wrong and you blow a fuse, you tend to go to the fuse box, right? And so it's not an exact crossover, but kind of. But so when the nerves start coming out from at the base of the skull and out and in, so that's what I want to say. Like you can have sensory information being messy and going out has to be processed. But from around by the neck, then it goes out to the arms. So a lot of times people have stuff going on in their arms or feeling numbness in their hands, but it's coming from up by the neck or anywhere along the chain because it could be muscle related along the way. Mid back tends to be more for the thoracic area, and then low back goes down to the legs.
Yeah.
And with that, all of that, the organs are fed through all of that, but there's one huge nerve called the vagus nerve that comes out by the base of the skull. It's actually a cranial nerve, and so it comes down and it goes down to the heart, it goes to the lungs, it goes to a lot of the digestive organs, and that's for a parasympathetic. So upper neck can affect a lot of stuff because there's so many nerves that come out. But yeah, so it affects the whole body, right? Like just that one nerve can affect digestion just by looking at upper neck.
There was one time I was at work and I was working and my back was hurting so bad, so I sat down for like 5 minutes. Then I tried to work. I couldn't work. Finally, I said, "Hey, I got to go home." I went to the doctor. He did give me some pain medication, and one of the things I was talking to him, and they said, "Yeah, I think you pinched a nerve," and the pain medication helped, but also stretching and stuff like that helped a lot too. But I ended up getting better. But I was like, man, that was
yeah, and it's in the long run, the body's brilliant. It adapts to whatever we need, right? So we may have pain for a few days and you're like, oh, this doesn't feel good, but it's going to work itself out. Really what happens is we tend to create a tolerance to that pain level. Our body will adapt. Just like with alcohol, you create a tolerance. You can get more and more and more, right? Suddenly you can get more and more of a pain tolerance. What people don't realize though is they don't have to live with the high pain tolerance. Right. They don't have to be in pain. We just kind of get trained into it through all sorts of sayings throughout our life, no pain, no gain, and that kind of stuff, right?
I know that because I work. Well, when you do hurt your back, is it better to put heat on it? Is it better to put ice on it?
So it depends. If it's been going on for a long time, usually they say more if it's a immediate, like an acute problem. When you say acute, it's the most recent, something just happened, flared up. There's usually a lot of inflammation, so ice helps calm down the inflammation. If it's been a chronic problem for a long time, usually heat will help to loosen things up. But you can also do a rotation of both, where you do heat or ice. And what I love to tell people all the time is exactly what you started with. Listen to your body.
Yeah.
If you're coming in, everybody's a little bit different in the reason of why things are coming in. I mean, there's generalities depending on what the cause of the problem is, but listen to your body. Like I said, your body has an innate ability to heal itself. And I tell everybody, if you listen to that, your body knows more. You've spent more time in your body. And so you can ask me questions. I will do my best to answer it. Right. But you also know little nuances that I don't know because you've lived in it. Yeah. Right. And so you check in with your body all the time. And sometimes people have figured out a way to understand their yes or no. Like, do you feel lighter when you think about something, or do you feel heavier? Sure. That's a good way, like ice or heat. You can even do little check-ins like that. Like, is ice going to be better? Is heat going to be better? Right. So, but let's go back. Usually irritation immediately, ice. Longer term heat can be helpful. So.
One of the things I found when I hurt my back that time was that after about 5 days, I was able to go back to work. The doctor cleared me to go back to work, but then I was working. Then like every hour I had to sit down for like 5 minutes, and I had to do that for like a couple of weeks. Then I could work the full day, but I slowly had to. It was a slow process.
Yeah, it takes time to heal, and some of that stuff too. Chiropractic can help with that piece of getting things balanced in alignment, so that your body can heal a little bit quicker, faster, right? And I know a lot of times people are like, well, if I go to a chiropractor, I'm going to have to keep going forever, right? And that can be a scary option. And you don't have to go forever. But what we tend to do is in the beginning, you have patterns that have been set in place for a while. It wasn't just that one thing that happened. You've had patterns that have kind of set it up. And so usually in the beginning, there's more treatment, more condensed together. And then it kind of spaces out a little bit more. But then it's up to you. Really, the main thing we treat is something we call subluxation, which is just the joint misalignment. And so there's three main things that can cause that. It can be physical, it can be chemical, or it can be emotional. And so the physical piece is you got hit, you fell, you've been doing repetitive use things, you fix that piece. The chemical, you've been exposed to something at work, breathing, or I've seen it with people after like a weekend bender, right behind their liver kind of locks up. And so the body will protect in different ways because it's overexposure to different things. And then the emotional piece, I say, comes in if two people were walking down the street, one was really confident and the other person was severely depressed. Usually you don't even have to see them, or you don't have to talk to them. You just look at them and you know which one's which, right? We hold our patterns, right? And so stressors of multiple different kinds could cause that. So then going forward, like, what do you want? Do you want to be out of pain? We can help you get out of pain. Do you want to stay in a preventative where you're kind of keeping that? It's like saying, stop having stress in your life. That's not going to happen, right? Just brush your teeth once, you'll be done. It'll be good, right? Doesn't work that way necessarily. But that's why we look for lifelong stuff for people if we're looking for wellness. But you don't have to go for that. If you just want to get the pain gone, you get the pain gone, and then just make sure you're paying attention to your body.
Well, I've seen people people who are like really large, obese people, and they're like, oh, I got back problems. And I'm like, you can't say, but it's like you're carrying too much weight around.
Yeah, it's a tough one because part of the reason why it is, right?
Yeah.
But then you kind of got to get into why do they have that issue in the first place? Is there an emotional issue going on that's causing them to overeat, right? Like it's sometimes more complicated as you kind of delve into it. Because I think that's one of the things I like about it. It's like a puzzle, trying to figure out what's going on with the person.
Oh yeah, well, like when I watch sports, especially football, and I see somebody, he'll catch a pass and somebody comes up and hits him like right in the back. He's like, I'm like, and then it's like, well, he's out for it. I was like, yeah. And you look at that hit, like, yeah, that was, you got a helmet going right into the back. Yeah, that's gonna take a while to heal.
Oh yeah, especially ligaments. If you strain a muscle, there's blood supply. You break a bone, there's a direct blood supply. Yeah. Ligaments and tendons are a different type of tissue. They're built to be strong and hold real tight, but they're really tight together. And so they don't have room for blood vessels in the middle of that. And so those take even longer to heal because they don't have a direct blood supply. But I don't know. I feel like as I learn more and more about the body, the ability to heal is all about how we approach it. Right. And so if I've had ankle sprains that have been horrible as I learn more about my body, but when I would sit and take time at home and really feel like what my body needs, move my foot a little bit of ways and massage in the area, it suddenly recovers way faster than what textbook would say, right? It depends on how we work with it, and multiple different approaches are always helpful.
Yeah, there was one day I woke up and I'm like, I can't go into work. My back, I can't. I'm not going to be able to stand on my legs all day, for 8 hours. So me and Rachel hurt our backs, and we called a friend of ours who's a massage therapist, and we both went and got massages. And
brilliant, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a different way. Massage, you can do acupuncture, you can do pain meds too if you want. It's not like that's not going to stop you from feeling the pain, but the question is, does it get to the root of the problem and stop it from reoccurring, right?
Is there also diet change that you could do during this time that you're working with a chiropractor that could help?
It all works together, right? And I feel like diet is one of those that is a good indication of each person's a little bit different, right? And so I would recommend a nutritionist that is good. And I've been hearing more even about genetic diets. Like you get your genetics test to figure out what your actual genetics needs for ideal functioning. And everybody's a little bit different because we have different heritages, right? We come from different cultures. We come from different areas that over generation of generation have had different foods, right? And so our bodies can be different. But yes, typically you cut down on the sugar, you cut down on the high carbs.
And up the water.
Yeah. Water is one of those that we don't think about very much. But like people will come in, I'm like, I've had headaches. I've always had headaches. I'm like, how much water are you drinking? Right? Because our brains sit in cerebrospinal fluid, which is a water-based liquid. And if we have a little bit less of that, the first thing that's like screaming out is your brain.
Yeah.
Right? And so a lot of times when I have a headache, I'm like, sometimes it's so bad you just want to take a pain med. But I know I'm like, I've been doing too much caffeine and I haven't been drinking my water and I haven't been doing
out in the sun too much.
Yep, yeah. Right? And so I'm like, you start drinking water and then you start feeling better. That's fascinating.
But also a good thing about water is water helps flush out the system too.
Exactly. The solution to pollution is dilution. Yes. Right? Yeah. All right.
The solution to pollution is dilution.
Yeah. Right? Sometimes I think that's what the earth is doing right now.
What about the things like I said earlier is that and I see these commercials all the time. Oh, get this mattress, get the Tempur-Pedic, get this mattress, get this. And I know our mattress. We both agree that we need a new mattress, but it's just we're in the stage right now is trying to find the right one. Should we?
So the one thing I can say with that too is everybody's different. Again, what I would actually recommend if you want to know, do you like firmer or like softer mattress, go and do your sleep number test. You don't have to get the bed, but like check out, do you like firmer or do you like not? But a lot of times too, if you have low back pain, a little bit firmer just helps support better, and that tends to help out in the long run. But some people do better with softer. So that's why I get the information for yourself, see what works good for you, and then you can move forward with that.
Because I remember back a few years ago, after I graduated high school, I'd gotten a water bed and I loved it, but then all of a sudden, I thought it was good for your back, but then all of a sudden there was times that my back was hurt so bad that I had to sleep on the couch and stuff like that. And then water beds were huge, but now they're like
nobody even knows what they are anymore, right? Unless you had one.
Talking about beds, there's so many different pillows out there now. I mean, is there a recommendation when chiropractors are working with people?
So similar kind of thing. The biggest thing that I always recommend is trying to get your body as neutral as possible. Because you think about it, you sleep a third of your lifetime if you sleep 8 hours a day, right? And that varies time to time, right? Like not everybody gets that full 8 hours. Not everybody needs that full 8 hours, but some people need more too, right? Sometimes you have days where you're sleeping way longer than that. But neutral, like trying to just, when you lay in bed, is it neutral? If you're sleeping on your stomach, that's one of the worst ways to do, because you're going to have to twist something, right? On your back, what I like to say is a little bit flatter, but something that can support the neck, right? So I used to just have a really old feather pillow that I would just shove up underneath for the longest time, but something that has a little support under the neck so that the neck is kind of neutral. And then I also like to recommend people throw a pillow under their knees because it helps relax the low back a little bit. If you're sleeping on your side, throw a pillow between the knees and the arms because you keep the shoulders a little bit more open and your knees open. Plus, you need a little bit more space in the neck because if you think about it, it's further away from the bed, right? So you want to support even wider on the neck for that.
Well, also, too, one of the things I do is exercise. And like, I know, and talk to people and they're like, oh, I got back injuries. I'm like, well, how often do you exercise? I said, well, come to the gym. I'll show you some back exercise you can do, to help your back, to help strengthen those muscles in the back so you won't have so much pain,
Yeah, 9 times out of 10 core.
Yeah.
Core is a big thing because we tend to rely on our back muscles, but the core, you have your whole front half of the body. If only the back half is working and the front half isn't, then you're lopsided on that piece. And that tends to result in more injury with low back as well too. But I've also found too, so when you look at the body as a whole, right? Like you might have a low back pain, but I've heard of chiropractors who only adjust neck because some people, there's a lot of different techniques out there. And so one thing I would say is if you find a chiropractor and you're like, that didn't work for me, there's lots and lots of chiropractors out there. There could be somebody else that works very differently and works incredibly well with you. So I wouldn't throw it out,
This one didn't work. Forget it. No,
yeah.
I hate chiropractors.
Yeah, no. Like it's not. Not everybody's the same. It's like hairdressers. You find the one that really works for you, and that's who you go for, right? Same kind of thing can be said for chiropractors. But, I digress. I forget there was a point. Neck. That's what I was talking about. When you look at the whole body, some chiropractors, when they were working only on the neck, because people have come in for only neck pain and then they only adjust the neck, your curves of your back, the neck and the low back are the same. And so people have had good success relieving low back pain with just adjusting the neck because postural patternings, every time you move your head, every time forward, backwards, anything, if you really pay attention to what's going on in your body, your low back has to adjust in the same way too. So sometimes you're like, I don't know what's going on. I keep getting my low back adjusted. It's still not fixed. If they're not touching your neck too, that might be a piece of it. Something's off in your neck and that whole program of how you posture, because the neck is off, that patterning for the low back gets affected too.
What about basic like waking up? Because I know that sometimes when you wake up, they say it's a good thing to do is to do like a couple stretches, like once you get out of bed. Especially
nowadays, the biggest thing I would say even is like opening up the shoulders. They used to have one doc that I heard that would say do a bridge when you get up, but we never extend back the same way, right? And push totally back. We do a lot more with our lives that's forward, especially so computer centric, so game centric, so everything, cars, everything is like forward and in front of you, right? And so being able to open up, and even there's something called the YTLs where you put your arms up like a Y and you can push your shoulder blades back, and then put them straight out across from each other. That's the T part, and pull your shoulder blades together, and then tuck your elbows down by your side, pull your shoulder blades back. That's another way to get that open, right? And so a lot of times they say if you're working and you're at a computer all day, at least once an hour, 50 minutes sitting, 10 minutes to get up and move around, 50 minutes sitting. It's easier said than done, I know.
Yeah, just get up, stretch, walk around.
Yeah, but even if it's just to open everything up because you've just been sitting where everything's forward, right?
Well, I know that. Well, I know that too because sometimes, like when I'm working, I'll be at the computer and I'll be out there for like 2 hours working and getting this done and doing this. Like, hey, I need to take a break, get my eyes up, just go down, get something to drink, get some water.
Right? Yeah. And half the time we're like, oh, I'm sleepy, so I'm gonna go get something with a little punch of caffeine, which sometimes that does the opposite of what we think, even though we're wanting it. But
also too, there's good natural food you can drink. You can have.
Yep.
Your leafy greens. You definitely got to get your leafy greens, and you definitely got to get your water.
Yep. There's good like multivitamins that come in a powder form that are good too. So you mix it up almost like a shake in the morning, or Nutridyne has some very good stuff. But there's lots of different places that have good quality stuff. Generally, I tend to say I think GNC has a little bit higher, or else going through a chiropractor. A lot of them look at nutrition as well too, and then you'll see nutritional supplements that are in there, right, along with just the physical piece, because you're looking at mental, emotional, physical, nutritional. What are you doing in work, right? Some people I have coming through have hip that tends to keep wanting to turn out, and I finally am asking the question of, okay, when you're driving, how do you sit? Because we don't think about those little patterns. A lot of times. You tend to like kick the one leg, your left leg off to the side, and your right leg is doing the gas, right? But think about if you're in your car a lot, you're sitting slightly off kilter. So I had to retrain myself with that because I would do that all the time too. And I had to like sit up and, you get both feet even. You're like, oh yeah, I was really doing more damage than I was even aware of.
Well, that's one of the things interesting you say, because we took a trip last year to Colorado. And we were driving, and of course, you stop at the gas station. And I said, "Hey, everybody, get out and stretch." And of course, the kids are sitting there staring at their cell phones with their necks down, with their heads.
I gotta get out.
And I was like, exactly. And I said, "Get out and stretch." Well, I don't need to get out. Everybody get out and stretch. I don't care. Get out.
I teach at St. Thomas now as well too, teaching anatomy and physiology, and we do this thing where it's called Anatomy in the News, and students can find a different anatomy topic. But one of them they said was this EOP protuberance. I know that sounds fancy, but the bump on the back of your head is elongating bony in the back. If you feel up the back of your skull, there's a bump on the back. And for millennials and younger, it's more prominent. And what they found is because the kids have their head face down in their phone all the time, is actually pulling on that like connection and making that bony process a little bit more prominent because of that head down posture for so long. I thought that was very interesting. There's actually studies out there saying our bodies are adapting because of that.
Yeah, and to me, it's basic elementary. It's like I said, okay, we'll do this. Hold your hand out, and just keep it there. Okay. Or if you put your head down and just stay down there, and I put pressure on it, and I just stay there for an hour, it's going to hurt. And that's what you're doing in a car. That's what you're doing. Some people, they go to work and they sit at their computers all day, staring at their computers. Then they come home and they sit down, watch it. Well, you haven't moved anything. You haven't worked those muscles, and those muscles just been sitting there. And of course, maybe a year, maybe 6 months or something. All of a sudden, you're like, it hurts. Well, yeah, because you haven't stretched it.
And a lot of times when you get home, you're hungry too, right? And you're like, oh, I'm starving. But usually that can actually be our body is hungry for movement. You get up and go for a walk and then come back and see how hungry we are.
Yeah, make sure you stretch. Well, it's been an interesting conversation. So if somebody has a back problem or if they have
a need for a chiropractor,
what are some ways they can get a hold of you? You got a website, or they can email you, or phone, or?
Right now, I am doing traveling chiropractic, where I have a table in my trunk, and I am in the beginning process.
So she will come to you.
Yes, I got a few different things going on within, like I said, I teach too, but so the traveling piece makes it nice and flexible for me right now. And so right now I don't really have a whole lot set up other than you reach me by my phone or, people that know me. So.
Okay. So if you want to get in contact with us, we got a way you can get in we can contact Joanna and get you hooked up and get you adjusted.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you have an email or something?
So email, you can also do Dr. It's Dr. Joanna PR at Outlook. So DrJoannapr at Outlook.com.
Okay. And if you need adjustment or you got back problems or anything like that, or you just want to talk and just got some questions, make sure you email her or give us a call or email us and we can definitely forward it over to her.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot for coming on the show. It was interesting.
It's my pleasure.
All right. And Rach, is there anything you want to lead us out with?
As always, you guys, history is filled with lines of hate. We are trying to build lines of love and always be your best advocate. You guys, till next week. Talk to you later.
And thanks for joining us on Infusion, the podcast. Thank you.